Well, as two groundsmen synchronise their lawnmowers across the pitch here at Valley Parade, could the great escape be on for Bournemouth? Deducted 17 points at the start of the season for failing to exit administration in accordance with Football League rules. They are a team transformed under their third manager of the season, Eddie Howe, who we spoke to a month ago on the Coca-Cola Football League podcast. One of his masterstrokes was to bring back another club legend, Steve Fletcher, released in the summer of 2007. In his 9 games since returning to the Fitness First Stadium, he's clocked up his 500th league appearance for the team. They've doubled their season's wins from 5 to 10, and his first goal since returning, his 100th league goal, was in the win over Aldershot that lifted Bournemouth out of the bottom 2 for the first time this season. I've made that sound like an absolute fairy tale there, Steve, mate.
Yes.
And it is, mate. I mean, I know you're going to tell me it's early doors, but it's an astonishing turnaround.
Yeah, obviously a lot quicker than I anticipated when I first signed 3.5-4 weeks ago, whatever it was. I obviously, we were 10 points behind, and I thought, yeah, we can make it up, but I know a lot of people around the ground didn't believe it because, to be honest, the club was in such a bad state, not just on the pitch but off it as well. It was a bit of a misery around the place. I've been to a couple of home games earlier on the season. There was just a dire feel around the place, and it wasn't good. It wasn't like I remembered, but came in on the Friday. We played Wickham, who were top of the league at the time, on the Saturday, and we beat them 3-1, and since then there's been a massive buzz around the place and a self-belief within everyone involved at the club that we could actually do the impossible and get out of it. Now we've got ourselves in a position that we couldn't have only dreamt of 9 games ago, but like you said, it is an old cliche, but if we rest on our laurels, mate, we'll get kicked in the teeth and we'll be back down there no sooner than we got ourselves out of it. So we've got to, I see it as stage 1 complete. Stage 2 now is kicking on and trying to get up that league and catching as many teams as possible, and hopefully not having to go to, I think it's Morecambe away on the last game of the season, and trying to get something. That's our interior motive at this present time.
I mean, I suppose it helps to be managed by somebody who completely understands the fabric of the club.
Yeah, Eddie's been at the club. I mean, I was there for 15 years. I think Eddie was there for about 8 or 9. He had a year where he went to Portsmouth and then he came back as a player. As the youngest manager in the Football League, but he's very astute, very meticulous in his work, his preparation. He watches teams. We know everything about the players we're playing against. We work on things in training. We don't just turn up on a Friday and, oh, by the way, there's the team, boys, and we'll work on it today. We do things all week. We have our fun as well with the five-a-sides, but we know the job in hand, and for such a young squad as well, he's got everybody tuned in, everybody focused, and there's nobody who is working above their station, thinking, oh, the job's done and dusted. We all know what is expected, 100% focused, and that's a credit to Eddie himself. Like I say, he's only 31. I played with Eddie for 8 years, and he was a bit like that as a player, and he's took it on as a manager, and he's got to take, like I say, as many, if not more, plaudits for what we've achieved so far, as well as what the players have.
How is it for you? I mean, it must be a bit weird to be managed by a former teammate. Has he slapped any fines on you, or is he treating you as a bit of a maverick? Because you are a big lad, Fletch, so I mean, obviously, he wouldn't want to mess with you, probably.
No, I don't think Eddie would try and do that. Listen, when he phoned me and he told me he was interested in getting me back, and I said, look, Eddie, I'm under contract at Crawley. I don't think it's possible. I'm playing. We're doing well at Crawley. We're in the top few. He said, well, I'd love to get you back. Have a word with your manager, Steve Evans. So I had a word with him, thinking nothing could happen, and Steve pondered on it for a week. Ended up being 10 days, and he said, Fletch, if it was anyone but Bournemouth, I wouldn't even have contemplated getting you in the office and talking to you about it. But he said, I know you love the club. I know there's a chance in the future there for you, and what type of man would I be if I held that from you? So I thank Steve for letting me come back. And Eddie said to me on the first day, I went in to sign on the Friday, he said, can you play for me? I said, what do you mean? He went, well, I'm Eddie and you're Fletch, and I'm 31 and you're 36, and we've grew up together, and he's always been like little Eddie to me, you know what I mean? I mean, he started off as a YT. Well, when I came to Bournemouth, after a couple of years, he was a YT player, and he said, but he wanted to get me in to help the changing room, lift the boys, help with a bit of coaching, just do general things like that, and be like a manager in the changing room as such. And if the boys need somebody, he'll go through me, and it's been brilliant because it gives me a bit of something that I wanted to get involved in anyway, you know. He's got Jason Tyndall as his assistant, and I suppose I can, as much as I can do to help, is great for me because it educates me, and obviously it's something I want to do later on in my career, and also I'm playing as well, so I'm having the best of both worlds at the moment. But things are going good. I just hope they can continue.
Zesh, I mean, you were saying it's a strange old division this season, because I think it's put a funny spin on it with having, you know, 3 teams that started with points deductions, but it is one of those divisions where anybody can beat anybody on the day, as obviously Steve was saying there when Bournemouth beat Wickham in his first game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange league, but I think, like he's saying, the lads it's all about belief, you know. I think Bournemouth have got that belief now where they can, if they beat Wickham, then they should be thinking, well, we can beat anyone, which by the sounds of it is what they've done.
They can.
Well, they can. It's good, but I think it's always important to have. Don't take this the wrong way, Steve. Senior pros at the club that, you know, pull people in the right direction and just keep things steady when it ain't going well and when it is going well. So, good luck to Bournemouth. I really hope they get out of it.
I tell you what, go on.
I'm an old senior pro, not a senior pro.
Well, I'm glad you admit it, mate. Listen, I know we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves, but would it be fair to say that Bournemouth might be the place to be for a rather large party come early in May if all goes according to plan and you finish the job off?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe, mate. I mean, like I said, I don't want to go to the last game of the season or the game before need to get a result. I want it done and dusted with 3-4 games to go, you know, and say, look, we're mathematically safe. Then we can enjoy ourselves. Until then, we've just got to stay totally focused. And I know it's an old cliche, but from what the boys have been through this season for the first half, which I wasn't there to be, and the Luton players and the Rotherham players must feel the same. It must have been such a headache and put a negative spin on everyone involved with the football club, because you don't see yourself getting out of it. To then eventually now being the plus and like catching teams and just hit the nail on the head. It's all about belief, because once we beat Wickham, you know, I don't think anyone around the ground would have even anticipated us getting anywhere near a team like that earlier on the season. We beat Wickham. We drew against Luton, we got an away draw, and then we won our next 2 home games in a row, and all of a sudden the buzz that was created around the place and the confidence that was installed in some of the young lads who probably just had negativity all season up until then, it was just a totally different team. And obviously living in Bournemouth for 17 years, I've people come up to me off the streets and saying, Fletch, it's just such a turnaround. The whole place is like electric, you know. There's a belief not just with the players but with the supporters, and I've had, I think it was Danny Hollands last night, come up to me and he said, I don't fear anybody anymore. And he said, and I didn't feel like that in the first half of the season. We actually don't fear anyone because we're getting results, we're playing well, and for example, last night we beat Aldershot 2-0. There wasn't a lot in the game. We were the better team second half, but there wasn't a lot in the game. The difference was we wanted it more. That was simple as that. The conditions were horrific. We wanted every tackle, we wanted every header, and we just wanted it in general more than they did. And I think with that, as well as confidence, which comes from results, with that installed inside us, especially a young squad like we are, we've got every chance, mate.
We wish you well, Steve.
I hope so. I hope I talk to you later on this season and we can be, or I can be celebrating with a few beers, mate.
Well, that's the bit. That's the offer that I was hoping to get. Listen, well done. That's Bournemouth's returning hero, Steve Fletcher, joining us on this week's Coca-Cola Football League podcast.